morning, everybody, and welcome to the GSM's Pride. Hope you all had a fabulous week and weekend. I know I did. It was a great one. I actually just dropped my puppy off to get training started this week, which is going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure. So this week, what I want to talk about is merchandising the lot. So quick question. How important do you feel that merchandising the lot is? Especially right now, anyone that's in the car industry, obviously inventory is a huge topic. It's very hard to get. It's extremely expensive. For the people out there that are buying cars right now, trust me, you're going to pay up for these vehicles because it is definitely a supply and demand thing. My question is, how important is merchandising the lot? Do you feel that it's a big deal, not a big deal? Do you care if there's gaps on your lot? Do you care if the lot's full? What's really your thoughts? Please put some comments down below. Let me see what your thoughts are. So I'm going to show you guys basically what we do to merchandise a lot and how to best merchandise a lot, in my opinion. Obviously, it's never always cut and dry, but in my opinion, how I feel it is best to merchandise a lot. One thing we do at the Ford store is we are kind of looking two ways. We are on a highway on one side where the service department is, and a pretty major road on the other side. Here's one thing that always frustrated me when I first came there, that we never put the used cars on the main road side, because at the end of the day, we have a big blue oval on the front of the building, and everyone knows that we're a Ford store, so what do we need to have new F-150s up there for? Everyone knows we have new F-150s, so that was one of my main reasons for changing the lot. So all the used cars are on the front side of the building. On the back side, we do have retail now. We used to have a lot of fleet. So yeah, I'm going to show you a couple of things on there, and I will love some feedback on how important you feel merchandising the lot is. So I'll see you all in a bit. One of the frustrations I have when you go to a dealership or even take over a dealership and you see new vehicles out front of the store. Usually 9 times out of 10, in fact probably 9.9 times out of 10, the logo for the manufacturers on the side of the building or in front of the building pretty big. And I think people know when they drive past is that we sell Fords. That's not really relevant. The idea is to have used cars up front to drag people or draw people in that aren't necessarily looking for a Ford specifically. So that's one thing that I think is really important, especially when it comes to merchandise now a lot, because I think I mentioned in there that we're kind of lucky in some ways because we're on a highway and we're also on a main road, so we have two ends of the building. But the traffic in front of the building needs to be used cars. Kind of like the same as if you went to a grocery store and all the shelves are empty and all just scattered around and there's no real rhyme or reason where things are. It gets frustrating, and also people think you're not in business when you've got cars scattered everywhere, and you need to kind of have somewhat of an organization to make the service you're providing to the customer a lot easier. So I really think that staging vehicles the correct way and in the right orders makes a huge difference when it comes to that. I wouldn't necessarily say there's a cardinal sin, but if I could give any advice on what you definitely should do is size. You've got to size the vehicles together, because if it looks very unappealing if you have a Focus and then a truck and then a smaller car and then an SUV. It just looks there's no flow to the lot. So I wouldn't necessarily say there's a cardinal sin, but I would say that I think it doesn't make any sense to not put the same size cars together. First off, putting cars on the lot that don't belong on the lot. You know, one thing I've always done is I've always prided myself on making sure I have that car ready to show before I physically put it on the lot. There's a couple of reasons why. From a business standpoint and a profitability standpoint, all you're doing is asking for them to discount it and then want extra work doing to the vehicle. Those vehicles need to be standing tall when they're out there. So that's something, don't put a car out there that's not ready for the lot, because it doesn't help anyone's situation, and you're really not going to be able to merchandise that car well in any way, shape or form. I think it's more along the lines of a cosmetic thing rather than a mechanical. Mechanical's a little harder to see. You have to drive it and touch it, feel it a little bit differently, but I'm talking more along the lines of visually. No damage on bodywork, the car's dirty, all that kind of stuff. You've got to have it. That's why I do something a little different. I send mine to reconditioning first before I run them through mechanical, because I want them to stand tall, and also that I want them to be merchandised on the website first. For me, it literally is organization. You need to make it look like you care about that inventory. And when I say look like, we do care about our inventory, so it's not just that look, but it's also, if your cars are scattered all over the place, there's no rhyme or reason, there's gaps everywhere, the cars aren't in a good looking line, clearly you don't care. It's kind of like if you go in somebody's house and there's crap everywhere, they clearly don't pay that much attention to those specific things, and they don't really care about how it looks. We do care about how it looks, so that is why I feel it's important, and it's just pleasing to the eye when you drive on a lot that's clean, tidy and organized. So one thing I really want to touch on is that, you know, as you saw, that I go out there and do it myself. The reason why I think that's really important to managers to go out there and help move the lot is a couple of reasons. First off, as a manager, you should also always make your employees aware that you're never going to ask them to do something that you would not do yourself. I think that is, if we're talking about cardinal sins, I think that's a cardinal sin a lot of managers do. They get manageritis and they don't ever do what they tell the people to do. So that's one thing, and it's more a visual thing for those people, knowing that you'll go out there with a porter and move the lot with the porter. Second of all, I think for a manager, especially a used car manager, you get to start all those vehicles, make sure that you know if there's any that aren't running. Whilst you're actually moving, you can do a couple of things. You can audit the keys, you can audit the inventory to so you know what's out there, and you're also going to notice if there's any damaged wheels or bad tires or whatever on the vehicle. It just gives you an opportunity to move all those vehicles together and actually kind of do somewhat of a visual audit for those vehicles whilst you're out there. It's better that you do it rather than a porter necessarily does it, because a porter's not going to take into consideration those things when it comes to that the lot. They're just going to make it look neat and tidy. Well, first off, we have bushes that are about 2.5 foot high. So what tends to happen is if you put, let's say, a Focus or a Chevy Cruze or something out front, the chances of them really seeing what that vehicle is going to be tough. So that's really the main reason I decided to put trucks, because they're a little more elevated and you can see over the bush to see exactly what they are. But on the other side is, why not advertise the main brand that you sell, and that's trucks. We're a Ford dealership, whether that being a Ford F-150 or a Chevy Silverado, we sell trucks. We sell a lot of them. So put your best things out front. It's kind of like the same when you, again, go back to the grocery store. Where do they put all the candy? Right next to the checkout. Why? So you pick something up and go along. So that's kind of the same mentality. I think it's quite a bit different. The reason being is this. Most people who are looking for luxury cars are a want buyer rather than a need buyer. So realistically, when it comes to merchandising luxury cars, you don't really have to per se, because they're going to come in and ask you what they are wanting rather than needing. The difference is when you're at a store like a Ford dealership, not that we don't get want buyers, because we still do, but you get more people that necessarily need it for a specific reason. So then walking around and seeing the inventory is more important, because they want to touch it, feel it, and that's really more the reason. You know, when I was at a luxury store, we used to have our cars down in the basement, And you don't really have to display them because people, again, you tend to come in and they know what they're wanting rather than needing. It was a little easier at Mazda to get a car through the shop first rather than merchandise it first. Because one, they weren't as busy as our shop is here. And also the work was a little easy. You'd be able to turn those through a little faster and everything's right there. The difference is at Ford, our buildings are separate. And then not to mention VIP, which is one of our reconditioning lots, is considerably further away than it was with Mazda. So it's more of a logistical thing than anything. That's the difference. I really hope you enjoyed this week's vlog. Again, I don't want you to think that I'm necessarily saying this is how you have to run your dealership, or if you have to copy exactly the things. The whole point of me doing these is really just to give you a little bit of insight what we do, what works for us, what don't work for us, so you can actually get some training on it that way, more of what works best for you, what works best for us. But again, the merchandising really is just my opinion on it. It seems to have worked everywhere I've been, and it just seems to be a good way of doing things and a good kind of mindset. So again, I hope you got something out of it. That's really all I want you to do. Again, as always, make sure you like, make sure you put those post notifications on, make sure you comment. I really want to have those conversations with you guys so I can gain what I need to put out for the next vlog. I really hope this is helping. Starting to get some traction, starting to get some people subscribing, starting to get some comments and stuff. So I really appreciate it. On this side, I'm going to put up a link to my subscription page. On this side, I'm going to put up another video. And as always, over at Lufuse Ford, we can replace the car, not the customer. And I'll see you all next week.